Welcome to Bears and Bulls. Today is December 30, 2009. A year has passed already. It's very fast, and it's maybe we have another day before the year ends, and we should, think of reflecting about how our year was. Anyway, I'm your host, Riva Galveztan. Before we get into the serious stuff, I want to introduce first our very special guest. He's none other than Mr. Illac Diaz. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and it's the last show of your year,
yes.
So
Very interesting.
New year tomorrow, so resolutions, and of course starting new things and new businesses.
Of course. So Mr. Illac Diaz is, of course, famous social entrepreneur, and he heads the My Shelter Foundation. Am I right? Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about spearheading a global venture. As you know, Mr. Illac has been involved in a lot of global ventures, starting it here and of course expanding to other countries and other areas in the world. So first of all, I'm really curious how you were able to start this kind of business. I mean, it's not the usual business that people start a food cart or
right.
Very, very minor. I'm sure you also started small, but it became something more significant.
Well, it actually started as a thesis. It was basically there's this concept called going beyond the pinstripes, which is not just taking your normal courses in graduate school, business courses, but how can you go beyond that? And we had to come up with a thesis. And I wanted something that was just not going to consultancy or corporate, but I wanted something that meant something, I guess.
Okay.
And so I said, is there any way that I can come up with a thesis that makes the efficiency of business, but the NGO is not part of the AIM curriculum.
Yeah.
So it was saying like, at least in the entrepreneurial, is there any way that it could cross over? Could business and social concern cross over? And that's because charity had a cash burn. It means once you give the money, then you feed 100 people. Next time you have to feed 300 people.
Yeah.
So it had this, if poverty escalates, then you need also a solution that escalates to meet it,
and not be sustainable,
and not just a linear way of doing it. So we were thinking like a business is great because you start small, as you were saying, and then starting with what is called philanthropic capital. You don't treat it as an expense account, but as an investment. That way it grows in time. And so the first venture was really Pier 1. It started out as a 40-bed concern. But the issue was to change it and kick people out as fast as possible.
Wow,
from your dorm.
What an objective!
Yeah,
I'm sure it was for a good cause.
And the main point really was, could we go away from the other business model, which was just to build up shanty areas? There's a lot of poor people in the shanty areas.
So you can see the photos of Pier 1.
Yeah, and what happened was, we had this problem wherein we wanted to get people out of the shanty areas.
Okay.
Because what use is it to keep on building this multi-story houses when more and more people from the rural goes into the urban? What was needed was not like building a higher dam, but actually taking out the water or taking out the people from there. So what we saw was the problem was there was no link between the people that wanted to employ them, and they couldn't find them in this kind of low-income areas, and the people that had the job skills. And so what happened was they had to go to office to office to office to office waiting for a job match.
And you're the one who filled that gap.
Right. So Pier 1 basically what it did was got all the job offers, put it on board, and got all the resumes and put it online. And so this mix between people that wanted to get a job and people that were offering jobs was accommodated. So
there was a link pretty much.
Right. So people are not here to look for accommodation. What they're here is to look for a job, and accommodation is a subset of that. And
because it involves having a place to stay for
and the other one is also the taxing daily trips that they have to do. That's an expense account. So what we're saying is, can we save you money but be a job center? And so that started out 40 beds, and now it's about 2,000 beds.
2,000 beds, amazing.
Yeah. But different areas.
And how are you able to measure, like in the beginning, of course you're thinking, is this business sustainable? I mean, a lot of people ask that question to themselves. I mean, they know that you can earn everything or, maybe fulfill all your objectives in the beginning, but how do you make it last? As you said, from from 40 beds, it has become
Right.
2,000 beds.
Well,
already.
what was my first benchmark of success was to have a janitor, because the point was I
Yeah.
could afford, you know, the front desk, and I could afford the person who does the beds and everything.
Of
But
course.
the janitor was like, when could I afford a janitor? You know, so this was the easy, because sometimes there would be like rains and you
Yeah,
have to
of
wash. So
course,
it was
yeah.
like really down and dirty. It looks all glamorous, and but really I had to mop a couple of, you know,
You yourself had
yeah,
to,
a couple of 1,000 square meter floor cumulatively.
okay.
So what we really saw was two things that were happening at the start, which was impeding its growth, which is some people that they came in, they had no money.
Okay.
So what we did was, in a sense, we found a way to finance franchises like water bottling station and ink stations.
And you were able to tie up with existing businesses for
Right.
that?
First of all, the seafarers drink only pure water, because if they get sick, they can't depart.
Yeah, of course.
So we had the ready market for that. Next is we used the people themselves to build the infrastructure, which is we had like wood, we had everything cut down like an IKEA system, and they would assemble the rooms, and they got 1 week free stay. And after that, they have to pay like 50 pesos to 100 pesos per night, depending aircon or
Which is
not.
very affordable, of course, for them.
But the nice thing about the franchises is we also saw that they can work for their stay, which is they can bottle water and you know, redo ink cartridges.
Instead of just paying every night.
And yeah, and so what happens is, well, no, they get an honest day's labor pay, and from that money they pay us. So this sort of gave us a financing way not to hand out to them. It's like they have no money, therefore you can't come into the dormitory. So there was this transaction. So
you give them an opportunity to actually.
right. So being very good as a job center, masked as a housing, and having a second option, which is providing them, instead of them going out and, you know, doing like parking lot attendant or something, you know, to cover the shortfall of gap between, you know, you're talking about to get your first job about 5 months. To get your first job.
Definitely.
I mean, just a long span of time wherein, you know, they sold their motorcycle, whatever. And now they have to use that little money to survive. So it sort of gives them that job opportunity, it gives them the job center, it gives them a safe place to stay. So across the line, we're earning from food and everything. And so it became a profitable business, but with a social impact.
That's great. I mean, I think that's what people need to keep in mind right now, because it's all usually just profit, profit, profit. And you know, we always hear that if you love what you're doing, the profits will come. And I think in your case, it pretty much
it's really and you should know this. You know, the brainwashing of those Jesuits.
Yeah.
You know, happy 150th year. No, but it's really that balance between success, but a success that you have to bring along others. And I think that's part, you know, especially we're talking about the sesquicentennial. No? So we want to mention that if you study that from prep till college, it's very hard not to express that later on in your professional life.
Of course.
And it's always about that. It's how to be successful, but how to bring as many people along with you. And of course, you know, you have the spectrum of those on the opposite side, of those that are totally, you know, there are like the Jesuits 2 years, but the point is there's that seed that's laid inside you that you know, you can't be, it's not going to be business as usual for you
all the time. So how about, I'm sure you've had a lot of, you know, responses from people, mixed responses, like there are people who really admire you and believe in what you do. How about those who, I'm not going to say you criticize, but there are other people who don't really believe in social entrepreneurship because of,
well, you know, it's just
many reasons.
It's a growth. You have, you know, the I would say the definition of leadership. The definition of leadership in profit was, you know, maximize profit from the minimum resources, and you're king.
Yeah.
But that very narrow way of leadership was a great cause of other problems in society, which was, so what about employees? Let's you know, let's just transition them. Let's not give them, you know, the Medicare. Let's not give them, you know, let's not pay them